All right, we are now going to get to the training session of the meeting. Judy, how are you? Welcome.
Doing
Judy
well.
is going to talk to us about using LinkedIn, specifically about using LinkedIn to establish that social proof, the stuff that you need to have in there to say what you want it to say. Judy, welcome aboard. I've got to set this up. Are you going to share your screen? Do you have anything?
I am. I
Okay.
have a deck.
You should be able to do that, and I'm going to leave it in your hands. Thank you.
All right. Well, I am delighted to be here talking with you all. It sounds like I'm preaching to the choir about using social media. And Mark, I appreciate you setting that up so nicely. Thank you. But LinkedIn is something I'm really passionate about. And especially for a group like this, it is absolutely critical, the most important social platform. And let's start with this, because this is the question I get asked all the time. Is it even possible to generate leads on LinkedIn without spamming people and also without spending hours every day on LinkedIn? Because that out of 830 million members, your prospects are out there, the people who can make referrals to you are out there. And you hear from a lot of people that LinkedIn is the best social network for lead generation. But, for every person who has figured it out, and I suspect a fair number of the people here on this call have, there are thousands who are doing it badly or who are not doing it at all. And there is an opportunity here to do a really great job for your business, to create a system where instead of having the feast and famine that happens so often, you have a systematic way to get regular referrals and to get new customers coming in the door, new opportunities continuously. And, as I mentioned, we've been doing this for a long time. This is the formula that we have found to be successful. We've worked with about 2,000 executives at this point, and there are three parts to it. The first part is telling your story effectively. That means that when people come to your profile, they understand who you are, they understand how you can help, they feel that what you do is relevant for them, they feel like they can like you, they know who you are, they trust you, and they remember you. Because so many opportunities come not just immediately when they first hear about you, but weeks, perhaps months, even years down the line. The second part of it is locating ideal prospects. And part of that is being findable by people who are looking for someone like you. The other part is finding the people who would be a good fit for you. And this is true both for prospects and for people who do a lot of referrals. This is locating ideal people who can make referrals. And then finally, getting those conversations started, introducing yourself in a way that makes people say, yes, I'll have that conversation. Yes, I'll have coffee with you. And then nurturing the relationship over time to get to the point where you have a deal. And so let's start by sharing some best practices and talking about the first part of that. How do you tell your story effectively on LinkedIn? And what I've got here is 5 key parts of the LinkedIn profile that will have the biggest impact on your overall results. So the first part is a headline. And the headline is this part right here, directly under the person's name. You have an opportunity to put some text in here. You have about 220 characters. And there are so many places on LinkedIn where all people can see about you is your name, your photo, and your headline. So your headline is like the subject line for an email. If it's not compelling, people are not going to click, and then they're not going to come through and learn how wonderful you are. So you really want to invest in creating a great headline. And Chris is a very good example. He is a virtual chief revenue officer. Now, Terry, I hope you don't mind, Terry. I think you do a great job with LinkedIn. And so I've got you as an example in here as well. And Terry's, obviously, has a great headline also, but take a look at his header graphic. This is a visual way to tell your story. Terry's got his 3 books here. He's also got keywords that pop right out at you so that you understand exactly how he can help. Now, if you wanted to do something related to your business, the mortgage folks, you could have, Mark Connell, you could take just the top part of your background here on Zoom. That would make a great header graphic. You can also do a photo of you speaking at an event. You could do, if you want to make the point that you're in Nashville, you could use a photo of a local landmark, something that people would recognize. Now, the third part of the profile that is really compelling and is so underused is the about section. And so many people don't even use an about because they don't know what to put there. And they're not comfortable, just with the sort of free form writing that you can do in the about section. But this is like the cover letter to your profile. This is the opportunity to tell a story, to tell people who you are, to tell them why you do what you do, why your work has meaning for you. And a group of you shared this on, in the introductions today, why you get personal motivation out of helping people. And that is an excellent thing to go in this section. So I'll just mention Robin Robbins. I don't know if any of you know her, but she has, as everybody does here, a great header graphic. She has a great headline here. And this is an interesting format for the about that is very easy to write. So I'm not going to sit on here long enough for you all to look, but you can have the deck and you can take a look at it later. Now, I also put Terry's in here. Terry does a really good job of storytelling. His is more of a flow. Robin's is, this section, this section, this section, but he's got a story here. You get to the end of this, you feel like you know who he is. And that's really important for building trust. Now, Kanita runs a nonprofit. And this is the featured section. The way she uses the featured section is very powerful. Now, you all know that if, before people take a meeting with you, they're going to Google you. And Google will serve up your LinkedIn profile at the top of the search results. But who knows what's going to come next? The algorithm changes rapidly, and we've all been online for a long time now. There could be all kinds of things that show up. When you use the featured section on your LinkedIn profile, it's like controlling that first page of search results, because you're choosing the things you want to highlight. You want to make sure people find specific things, the things that are most impressive, that are best at building trust, that give people the greatest opportunity to know who you are. And if you look at Kanita's, she's been covered on CBS News. Her nonprofit has been written about in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and she just won a grant from Goldman Sachs, one of 50 Black women leaders across the country who received this grant. These are all very impressive things. And when people come to her profile, they see all of this and boom, credibility. Now, Paul is a lending officer at City National Bank, and the experience section, this is the 5th part of the profile, is really useful at telling people not just what you're doing now, but how you got where you are. What was your journey? Every one of you has had a long career, and you've had a successful career. And so how did you build the expertise that allows you to do what you do now so effectively, and to serve your customers and to deliver great results? When you put stories in your experience section, you allow people to learn that about you, which gives them more confidence in you and also helps you address the issue of how do you know what you're doing? You don't have to spend that time in the coffee meeting talking about what you've accomplished in the past. They can read through it on your LinkedIn profile, and they come to that meeting much better prepared to have a rich, meaningful conversation and to move forward. So these 5 sections of the LinkedIn profile are the ones that are the most relevant when you're selling. And if you use them effectively, if you create rich sections in these 5 areas, everything you do on LinkedIn is going to be more effective. So now let's talk about the best practices around introducing yourself. So I'm not going to, because we have limited time here, I'm not going to go into that second area, which is how do you find people, but we can do that in the Q&A. I thought I'd just skip ahead here to the introduction section, because this is an area so many people struggle with and get wrong. Now, this is a collection of messages that I've received just in the past week. And I know you receive messages like this as well. These are exactly the thing that doesn't work. If you take a look at them, you can see they're generic. These could be written to any one of us on this call today, and they'd say the same thing. They're spammy. There's nothing meaningful in here. What they're basically saying is, hey, I do this. Are you ready to buy from me? Which is not only not helpful, it's actually obnoxious. And if you get down to like this one here on the lower left, this is a guy who had the nerve to connect with me under false pretenses and then be offended when I didn't want to be sold to right away. This is the kind of thing people are doing that is why LinkedIn has as much spam as it does, and why so many people get awful results with LinkedIn. So most common selling mistakes: generic messages to introduce yourself, like those. The second thing is assuming people who accept your connection are interested and ready to buy. Usually they're not. Third, starting to sell immediately after you connect. Especially mortgage brokers, it sounds like all of you are in relationship businesses, and relationships are built over time. You can like walk down the street and reach out to people and say, hey, I have this to sell. Are you ready to buy? And keep going. And if you hit 1,000 people, you'll probably find somebody who's interested. But so much more effective to not just blast and spam. So let's talk about what does work. The first thing is hyper-personalize. In other words, do some research on them and reach out with a message that is specific to them and specific to you, that tells them why you are reaching out. Show that you've put time in, that you did do your research. You listened to the whole podcast. And, if any of you listen to Brene Brown's podcasts, those are an hour long. So that is some time put into them. And then offering something of value, not just, hey, I'm selling this. Are you interested in buying? But, we're having an event. Would you be interested in joining us? Oops. So when you are looking at LinkedIn to go from the introduction to the meeting, these are the things that you want to think about. And this is how you want to invest your time and effort into LinkedIn. The biggest thing you need to do, especially in a relationship business, is to build trust. Stephen Covey says, trust is the combination of competence and character. And there are so many areas of LinkedIn where you can demonstrate competence and show your character. So that should be the single biggest thing you put time into. The second thing is nurturing relationships. Just like you would on Facebook, you give people the gift of your attention and you show them that you're paying attention. So you like their posts, you comment on their posts, you congratulate them, you show them that they matter to you. And that reflects well on you. It also helps them because their audience is seeing how much that they are valued and appreciated. And then educating. There is an education process that has to be gone through in any kind of a buying process, right? People need to learn. They need to learn what you do. They need to appreciate the value of the different aspects of what you do and why you do things the way you do. and educating is something that LinkedIn is designed for at this point. And then giving back. People are much more ready to make referrals, to do business with, to trust somebody who they see is working to benefit the community. And so using LinkedIn to allow people to see the ways that you're giving back, and by sharing your knowledge with others, that really helps you grow your business on LinkedIn. And then finally, thought leadership is at the very top of the funnel, sharing what you've learned and engaging with other thought leaders and learning from them and letting them learn from you. So these are the 5 things that really work on LinkedIn. This is a different way to think about selling on LinkedIn, but this is what works. And so we're going to do Q&A, and I'm happy to dig into any of these areas because there's a lot to talk about there. But for those, I have some resources. So we have checklists for people who are using LinkedIn in different ways. There is a business development checklist that is more detailed than the 5 areas that I went into. And you can get that on our resources page. We also, there's some excellent examples in this deck, but our website is packed with examples. So you can take a look and see what other people are doing and get some ideas for your own profile. And then we have a free webinar that we call LinkedIn Profile Glow Up that we do typically once a month. The next one is August 30th. And what our coach will do with you on that call is walk you through updating some of the sections that we talked about today, but also some of the others that will have a big impact on your results. So let me stop here and say, what questions do you all have? What else would you like to?
Yeah. So, go ahead. Anyone who has any questions for Judy, please feel free. Let's carry on the conversation.
Question, Judy. Judy, I have a question.
Yes.
I've been considering, I keep getting, contact to upgrade from the free LinkedIn to the professional that costs monthly. Is it worth it?
So there are multiple paid versions of LinkedIn, and they're probably trying to get you to go to premium, which is sold as a general business package, and is currently running around $60 a month. That one is only useful if you are really spending a lot of time on LinkedIn and you keep bumping against the limits. LinkedIn says, you've sent enough connect requests for this month, or you've viewed enough profiles for one day. If you keep getting error messages like that, then you probably should upgrade. The version of LinkedIn that I love, and the one that we recommend to all of our clients, is Sales Navigator. And that's the one that is designed specifically for sales. It has fabulous search. So you can go really granular on that. For example, you can look for companies that are growing faster than 25% a year and have more than 10 salespeople and are in Nashville, right? And you can get a list of those companies. You can get a list of people who have recently changed jobs. You can get a list of people who are CFOs and have just changed jobs. You can get lists of people who, have been in their career for, 20 or more years. It gives you really powerful search capabilities. And so that's the first part that's really useful. The second part that's useful is when you put your leads or the people you want to build relationships with, like Teresa, the 20 people that you were talking about, you put them in a lead list, and then you go to your homepage in Navigator, and it will send you all of the news about those people. So you can see when they post on LinkedIn so that you get notified and you can engage with them. If their company makes an announcement, if they're all of a sudden doing a lot of hiring, LinkedIn looks for all these triggers and then puts them in front of you so that you can engage with them and congratulate them and get conversations started. And then it also maps what you have in common with those people. So for example, if I look at somebody's profile, Lincoln, maybe I'll look at your profile and it'll say, these are the 4 or 5 or 200 people who can introduce you to Lincoln, and it'll rank them based on how connected we are, which is very useful. So if you're doing heavy duty lead generation, Sales Navigator is very, very powerful. But if you're building relationships around referrals and, there are relatively few people that you need to stay in touch with, you may or may not need it. It's about $100 a month right now, but you can get your first month free if you haven't already claimed that, and then you can experiment with it and see what you think. Does that answer
Judy,
the question?
I have a question for you.
Sure.
One of a niche focus that I have is brand new realtors.
Mhm.
And I have yet to find a resource that lets me know when a person has received their realtor's license and then they have parked that license with a real estate agency. You sparked a question or a point of interest when you said that Sales Navigator, I'm making notes on my other screen here as we talk, that Sales Navigator will ping you when a change has been made. Is there a way that you know of to find, or for me to find those brand newly minted real estate agents? Very frequently, those persons go through a 6-8 month process to get their license. When they get it, they have no idea. I've literally had a real estate agent say, "I've got a contract in my hand. What do I do, Mark? I don't know what the next step is." So I find that to be a very interesting facet of building new relationships with realtors who don't know what they're doing. I think it's a great opportunity. And I'm wondering if LinkedIn will identify those.
There is a way to do that. The Sales Navigator has an option to save a search. So what you would want to do is you would want to define a search that could include, real estate is one of the categories on LinkedIn. You do have to, people self-select, right? So not everybody who says they're in real estate is a real estate agent. Some of them are property managers, as an example. But what you could do is you could look at the industry, you could look at the title, you could choose a geography if you don't want, even if you want to go nationwide, I think you don't want to go worldwide. And then you could get a list of people who are new in the career and you could have that sent to you every week. Now, are you going to get everybody? Probably not, right? Because a lot of realtors do not use LinkedIn as their primary platform, but you would get a fair number of people every week.
Okay.
I think it would be worth a try. If you don't have Navigator yet, I would get the free trial. And if you want, you and I can hop on a 15-minute call and I'll show you how to set up the search. And then you can just try it out. I mean, $100 a month to have something like that sent to you on a regular basis, that might be pretty affordable.
Oh yeah, the dividends that would pay on that are amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
So Judy, this is Teresa.
Yeah.
I have found that I have a hard time getting the current realtors that I have on LinkedIn, and I'm a fan of LinkedIn. And I've really had to revert mine over to Instagram. because I'm not a Facebook fan, but Instagram, I'm getting a lot more generation. And I
So,
don't know, change, or maybe it's the age group.
well, so realtors are kind of all over the place, right? They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, you can find them on TikTok, you can find them on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not usually the first place they go. There are plenty of them on there.
Yeah,
You can build relationships with the ones who are.
right. I just encourage the ones that do work with me to be on LinkedIn. And I've been on LinkedIn for many years, and I've got over just right at 5,000 connections.
That's great.
But that was because of my previous life.
Mhm.
But the fact is, they're all over the United States, and I use that platform. Like, if they got a property for sale, I like to do a co-brand with them and put it out there, because we don't know someone that I may know from California that's looking to move to Tennessee.
Right.
And I'm like, that's the best platform. So I try to encourage them to get out there. I don't know. I guess that's where I need help at. I need more help with, how can I sell it maybe in a different way to really spark their interest on how they could use this platform on a professional level. Can't do the same memes, and I would never do that. The same memes and the comments that are made. You can't treat it like Facebook or even Instagram. But I really
Right.
wish they would do more, because I have always been a fan of LinkedIn.
Well, I think a two-pronged argument would probably work best. The first is to point out to them that people are going to Google them. You're not going to get around that. And the LinkedIn profile is going to be at the top. It's an opportunity to tell a really rich story. Most of the agents have a very minimal profile on the company website.
Mm-hmm.
On their own website, they can tell so much of richer story. And some of the things on there are things like, you can put videos on there, right? And you can upload documents that would be useful to people who are thinking about buying a house, right? It can be their own little mini repository, mini website that is super easy to set up and maintain. And under their own control, as opposed to under the broker's control. Because if they move from one broker to the next, they keep their LinkedIn profile, right? So that would be part one. And then part two would be to lead with the joint venture part of things, right? To say, hey, I partner with people on LinkedIn. I have a large network, and this is something that I do with realtors. And so you can kind of combine those two stories. I think that would work. Not with everybody.
Right. But I do see the benefit, and because they don't go into it enough, I've even found myself, like, where I can even look at my history, my posts, where I used to post more. Now I have gotten just zero. If it wasn't for the company, I wouldn't get anything out there. My company does control what I can, they do monitor what I'm putting out there, and down to the picture I have to put, so I don't want to manage two. So, and then keep all my same connections. I just want to keep it the way it is. But I too need to get back into doing more of it. I don't know what the odds are. We don't know what the numbers are. If I don't do enough posting on it, I don't know what the odds are of generating a lead. Does that make sense? So is it, 100?
It does. It does.
Is it, is it a daily post that should result in that? I don't know what the odds are, and I do tend to fall into numbers.
Right. So what I would say is, try one post a week, and make the effort minimal, but be consistent, and start with that and see where that gets you. For a lot of our clients, we recommend 1 or 2 posts a week, and that's sufficient. Now, if you're doing, if you really want to build your audience, if you want to get to 10,000 or even higher, then I would recommend posting more often. But you can create evergreen content and recycle it, because everybody is not going to see it every time.
Right.
So, you can I have my content repurposed. So for example, I'll write a blog post, and that blog post, and by I'll write, what I mean is one of my writers will write for me. And then that gets repurposed into an infographic and into a little mini book. And then little quotes go into the into graphics. You can get a lot out of materials that your company probably has already created.
They do have automation already with marketing that they do post, and that's the one post that's happening. What's not happening, and where I received more impressions or likes or what have you, was my personal post. So it would, if I just did one a week, along with our marketing, it's getting us 2 a week out there.
That would be plenty. And
Yeah.
so.
And
yeah,
is it
you
okay
could
that
think-
I have it linked up with Twitter? Because when I do post on my LinkedIn, it's an automatic to my Twitter account.
Right. I would be a little bit careful about that, because it doesn't, when you automate the share, it doesn't share properly for Twitter. It does share, but if you take a look at the tweet, it's not the way you would format it if you were doing
For a while. I do better when it's just doing a personal. And I try to hit all the platforms, except I'm still a baby on TikTok. I'm getting a few videos out there, but just personal. But the Twitter one was just probably the hardest one ever to even get followers. But I'm finally finding a niche, and it's finally working.
Yeah. So just keep experimenting like that.
Okay. I
And-
will.
Life's an experiment. Twist some dials. It's 11:28. We promise everyone it's 12:28, 12:29 now. We promise everyone we're going to end straight up at 12:30. So we are just about out of time. Make sure there's Judy's contact information. Grab that. Make sure you leave your information in the chat. And Judy, before we go, my big question is, what can we do for you? How can we help you for this fantastic presentation, for all you've shared with us today?
Oh, thank you. Well, if you know somebody who needs help with LinkedIn, I'd love to talk with them.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
There you go. I've got several that need you, Judy.
All right. Thank you. That would be wonderful.
Thank you so much. I'm going to get this posted. Just like Judy said, I'm going to repurpose this content. I'm going to post this in the group. There's going to be a blog post about it. We're going to have all of those things. They're going to be in our Facebook group, because I don't have a LinkedIn group set up for this, but maybe I should do that. And before we go, I've been having a great deal of success with LinkedIn events. So maybe we'll have Judy back some other time to talk in about LinkedIn events. There's a lot of meat on this bone that we could get into, but we're going to get that all in the group. So let's carry on the conversation there. Jim is going to send out an email for our next invite. We'll be back here in 2 weeks. Last words. Anybody have any last words to say before we skedaddle?
Thank you, Judy, for the presentation.
It was my pleasure.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be
invite
back here in
somebody.
2 weeks. Judy, fantastic. This is
Same
awesome.
here.
Thank you
Great
so much.
presentation.
Thank you all. Have a great week.
Bye, everyone. Save the chat.